Why is the Panama Canal called one of the 7 modern wonders of the world? How many breathtaking legends and controversies lie hidden within this man-made marvel that cuts across the Isthmus of Panama? The concept of the Panama Canal dates back as far as 1513. That year, Spanish explorer Vasco Núñez de Balboa crossed the Isthmus of Panama and reached the Pacific Ocean for the first time. He discovered that the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans were separated only by this narrow strip of land. King Charles I of Spain, realizing this was the ideal location for a water passage linking the 2 oceans, ordered Governor Pedro Arias Doivila to survey a route along the Chagre River. However, due to the region's mountainous terrain, digging a canal was considered impossible with the technology available at the time. Yet the idea of creating a transoceanic shortcut remained highly compelling. At the time, ships traveling from the Atlantic to the Pacific had to navigate around the southern tip of South America via the Strait of Magellan, one of the most perilous seas in the world. Later, Pedro Arias Doivila established the Royal Route and the Cross Route, linking Panama City on the Pacific coast with Nombre de Dios and Portobello on the Atlantic coast. For a long time, this corridor served as a transshipment hub for cross-ocean cargo. But goods had to be unloaded at one end, transported by ox cart over rugged terrain, and then reloaded at the other end, an extremely inefficient process. Although European colonists repeatedly proposed building a canal, these ideas never materialized due to technological limitations. It wasn't until the early 19th century that the Spanish government formally approved a canal project and authorized the establishment of companies to advance it. Between 1850 and 1875, numerous surveys were conducted across Central America, ultimately identifying 3 potential canal routes: the Panama route, the Nicaragua route, and the Tehuantepec route in Mexico. After the Suez Canal opened in 1869, France believed that digging a transoceanic canal only 40% as long would be relatively easy. In 1876, the Panama Global Interoceanic Canal Company was founded, led by Ferdinand de Lesseps, the French diplomat who had overseen the construction of the Suez Canal. In March 1878, the company obtained a 15-year exclusive concession from the Colombian government. Lesseps' reputation and enthusiasm attracted both speculators and the general public, who poured nearly $400 million into the project. But France soon realized that building the Panama Canal was far more difficult than the Suez Canal. Suez was merely a ditch dug through the desert, whereas Panama was not only mountainous, but also posed complex tropical environmental challenges. In May 1879, 136 delegates from 26 countries gathered at the Paris Geographical Society for an international congress on interoceanic canals. Despite some opposition, they ultimately decided to build a sea-level canal, believing it would be comparable in difficulty to the Suez Canal, and estimated the project cost at around $214 million. According to the plan, the canal would average 9 meters in depth, with a bottom width of 22 meters and a surface width of 27.5 meters. Dams would also be built to control flooding on the Chagre River. On January 1, 1881, construction of the Panama Canal officially began. On January 22, excavation commenced near Gamboa, but the French team soon encountered a series of setbacks. Torrential rains caused frequent landslides, severely hampering progress. At the time, there were no effective ways to prevent yellow fever or malaria, and disease ran rampant. The tropical jungle was filled with venomous snakes, poisonous spiders, and other dangerous creatures, compounded by humid and sweltering conditions that made the work environment extremely harsh. Although the project attracted many talented engineers, high mortality rates and brutal conditions led to severe labor attrition. By 1885, many workers realized a sea-level canal was impractical, and proposed switching to a high-level canal with locks. But Lesseps insisted on the original plan, and construction continued. Starting in 1887, the project spiraled into full-blown crisis. Monthly death tolls exceeded 200, and financial troubles grew worse. Floods and landslides became routine. In desperation, the team revised its construction approach, but it was too late to reverse the decline. On May 15, 1889, the French Canal Company declared bankruptcy, and the project came to a complete halt. After 8 years of work, Only 2/5 of the canal had been completed. $234 million had been spent. And 22,000 workers had lost their lives. This failure triggered a massive scandal in France. Several project leaders, including Gustave Eiffel and his son, were sentenced to 5 years in prison for embezzlement, though the verdicts were later overturned. Lesseps himself never served time. In 1894, the new Panama Canal Company was formed to take over the stalled project. The company employed no more than 3,600 workers, primarily to maintain the Panama Railroad and preserve equipment in compliance with the concession terms. Meanwhile, they made it clear that a lock and lake canal was the only feasible option. In February 1896, a high-level technical committee began drafting a new construction plan. By November 1898, the new proposal was unveiled: 2 high-elevation lakes, 8 sets of locks, and a dam across the Chagres River for flood control and hydropower. Around the same time, the United States also grew deeply interested in a Central American canal. In 1899, the U.S. Congress established the Isthmian Canal Commission to evaluate canal routes in Central America and make recommendations. In November 1901, the commission suggested that if France refused to sell its Panama Canal rights for $40 million, the U.S. should build a canal in Nicaragua instead. Philippe Jean Bunny Varilla, general manager of the new canal company, sought to push the U.S. toward Panama, and agreed to sell the concession for $40 million. On January 22, 1903, U.S. Secretary of State John Hay and Colombian diplomat Tomás Herón signed the Hay-Herón Treaty, granting the U.S. a 100-year lease for the Panama Canal. Although ratified by the U.S. Senate on March 14, 1903, the treaty was rejected by the Colombian Senate. Bunny Varilla then told U.S. President Theodore Roosevelt that Panama was preparing to secede from Colombia, and sought American military and financial support, citing an earlier treaty with Colombia allowing U.S. transit rights across the isthmus. The U.S. decided to back Panamanian independence. On November 2, 1903, U.S. warships blockaded Colombian sea routes, preventing troop deployment to suppress the Panamanian uprising. On November 3, Panama declared independence, and the U.S. quickly recognized it. On November 6, 1903, the U.S. and Panama signed the Hay-Bunny Varilla Treaty, granting the U.S. perpetual rights to build and administer the Panama Canal. Due to ambiguous wording in Article 22, this right was later interpreted as a 99-year lease, which became a lasting point of diplomatic contention among the U.S., Panama, and Colombia. On May 4, 1904, the United States officially took control of the Panama Canal assets and established the Panama Canal Zone, exercising sovereignty over the area. Engineer John Findlay Wallace was appointed chief engineer, but inherited a dire situation from the French: exhausted workers, crumbling infrastructure, and broken equipment. He resigned in 1905. His successor, civil engineer John Frank Stevens, quickly improved living and safety conditions for workers, and confirmed the lock canal design. This system would lift ships 26 meters up to an artificial lake via locks, then lower them back down to sea level, enabling transoceanic passage. To push the project forward, the U.S. brought in 102 railway steam shovels, along with large steam cranes, hydraulic rock crushers, concrete mixers, dredgers, and pneumatic drills, most of which used cutting-edge American construction technology. In 1907, George Washington Goethals took over as project leader. On October 10, 1913, U.S. President Woodrow Wilson sent a telegraph from the White House, triggering the explosion at Gamboa Dam, officially connecting the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Goethals and his team completed the canal 2 years ahead of schedule. On January 7, 1914, the floating crane Alexandre Lavallee, built in 1887, departed from the Atlantic and transited the canal in stages, becoming the first self-propelled vessel to navigate the Panama Canal. During the American construction phase, U.S. crews excavated 13 million cubic meters of earth and rock, which, combined with France's earlier 23 million cubic meters, brought the total to 36 million cubic meters. Despite enhanced safety measures, Roughly 5,600 workers still died from disease or accidents during the US-led effort. In the canal's first year of operation, about 1,000 vessels passed through. By 1930, the canal faced water shortages, prompting the US to build a dam upstream of Gatun Lake on the Chagres River. Completed in 1935, the dam created Lake Alajuela, providing an additional water reservoir for the canal. In 1939, the US began upgrading canal facilities, adding a new set of locks to accommodate large warships then under construction. After World War II, US-Panama relations grew tense. Panamanians widely believed the canal zone rightfully belonged to Panama. Protests became frequent and even led to canal blockades. The US reinforced its military presence in the area. On January 9, 1964, clashes erupted during protests, leaving about 20 Panamanians and 5 American soldiers dead. This day is still commemorated in Panama as Martyrs' Day. In 1974, the US and Panama began negotiations over canal control. On September 7, 1977, US President Jimmy Carter and Panamanian leader Omar Torrijos signed the Torrijos-Carter treaties, which stipulated that after December 31, 1999, Panama would assume full control of the Panama Canal, ending US jurisdiction over the canal zone. On December 31, 1999, the Panama Canal Authority, a Panamanian government agency, officially took over canal operations. In the 21st century, the canal's importance has only grown. In September 2010, the 1 millionth vessel transited the canal. In 2019, the canal recorded $3.3 billion in revenue. In 2022, over 14,000 ships passed through its waters. Today, the Panama Canal remains one of Panama's primary sources of income.